The OnePlus 8 has been revealed in stunning new official renders and a live photo, but I'll be sharing the details right after this. So it's the start of a new week and we've got more leaks than ever on the upcoming OnePlus 8 range, including the new OnePlus C. We have the official renders leaked of the upcoming OnePlus 8 color variants. We've had the OnePlus 8 Pro 5G spotted and photographed in a subway. We've got the new OnePlus 8 Pro camera specs leaked and news that the OnePlus 8 is coming very soon. First up, we've had some new news that the OnePlus 8 is likely to feature an always-on display. It's a common request from OnePlus fans, and OnePlus have confirmed that the feature is going to be available on Oxygen OS. They tweeted from the official OnePlus Twitter to say it is on their roadmap, so great news for OnePlus fans. Next, we've got specs leaked for the OnePlus 8 Pro's camera configuration, and the information comes from Ishan Agarwal, who's tweeted the full camera specs, and they are as follows. We get a 48 megapixel Sony IMX689 as the primary sensor. It's got an aperture of f1.78, and it's actually the same camera used in Oppo's latest flagship. We've got a 48 megapixel Sony IMX586 ultra-wide camera with an aperture of f2.2, and this has a 120-degree field of view. The third camera is an 8 megapixel telephoto with 3x optical zoom, and this has an aperture of f2.4, and the fourth camera is a 5 megapixel color filter. The phone's going to have a night portrait mode, improved stabilization, and a new feature called 3 HDR. And as well as the optical zoom, the OnePlus 8 Pro is also going to support 30x digital zoom. While OnePlus don't normally rank the highest on the DxOMark leaderboard, many are expecting the OnePlus 8 Pro to be within the top 5 when released. Next up, we've got an update from Max Weinbach, who has tweeted to share the latest information from his source. He claims that the new Lite model that we were expecting to be called the OnePlus 8 Lite is actually going to be called the OnePlus C. We previously had a OnePlus X, so it's thought that the Z could be part of a new budget-friendly series instead of being part of the OnePlus 8 range. As we're still unsure at the moment, for this video we're going to continue to refer to it as the OnePlus 8 Lite. Next up, we've got some official renders leaked for the OnePlus 8, and they reveal a new color variant. Some of you may have seen the green variant leaks by OnLeaks and iGeeks blog a couple of weeks ago, but the new ones look very interesting. The new leak comes courtesy of WinFuture, and it shows off the 3 color variants available. Now, the renders are for the standard OnePlus 8, and we're unsure at this time if the Pro is going to have the same color variants or offer anything extra. The renders of course show the glacial green, the onyx black, and this new colourful gradient that they're calling interstellar glow. We get a shot of the front and the rear of each model along with a rear shot on its own. By this point we can be pretty certain that this is going to be the design of the OnePlus 8, and I have to say I am a big fan of it. Finally, we've got the OnePlus 8 Pro out in public again, and this time it was caught being used on a subway. The previous photos, although they fall in line with what we're expecting, they have been deemed to be fake, but this one is thought to be real. As usual though, the phone is in a protective casing to hide its design, so the only thing that it does confirm is a quad camera setup. Apart from this, there really isn't much else to go on. As we approach the launch of the OnePlus 8, people have noticed that the predecessor, the OnePlus 7T, is being discontinued. Many sites, including the official OnePlus website, have removed the OnePlus 7T Pro, and this is an indication that the OnePlus 8 range is coming soon. Many sources such as WinFuture and Max Weinbach believe the date is going to be the 15th of April. But OnePlus fans are now eagerly awaiting the release of the OnePlus 8 range. They've confirmed that all models including the OnePlus 8 Lite or the OnePlus C are going to be 5G compatible, and this does make sense considering OnePlus plans on investing $30 million on 5G development. We've got news of the OnePlus 8 Pro coming with a 120Hz display, IP68 water resistance, and finally 30-watt wireless charging. Some of these features may also be passed down to the lower models, meaning we can expect some great value devices in the OnePlus 8 range. For those of you that have missed it, we now pretty much have the full specs and pricing for the whole of the OnePlus 8 range, so I'll quickly run through it all to help you guys decide which model is right for you. When it comes to the OnePlus 8 range, this year we're getting 3 variants, and we may even see the OnePlus Concept 1. If we start with the more affordable, the OnePlus 8 Lite. This is the first time OnePlus have ever delivered a Lite model, so it's going to be interesting to see how it performs in terms of sales. On the front of the OnePlus 8 Lite, we've got a full screen display with a single punch hole camera. The display is going to be a Super AMOLED display coming in at 6.4 inches. It's a Full HD Plus resolution of 1080 by 2400, and it's going to have a 90Hz refresh rate along with an in-display fingerprint scanner. It's believed that the selfie camera on the OnePlus 8 Lite is going to be a 16 megapixel Sony IMX471. When it comes to the rear, we've got a different camera arrangement on the OnePlus 8 Lite. It was initially thought that we'd get a dual camera setup on the device, but the recent news and photos claim that the OnePlus 8 Lite is going to have a triple camera setup. We get a 48 megapixel Sony IMX586 with an aperture of f4.7. We get a 16 megapixel ultra wide with an aperture of f2.2, and finally we get a 12 megapixel telephoto lens with an aperture of f2.4. It's also going to support both optical and electronic image stabilization. We've got the power button and the alert slider on the right hand side of the phone, with the volume buttons on the left, and the phone is of course powered by USB Type-C, and there's no 3.5mm headphone jack. While many were speculating that the OnePlus 8 Lite was going to be powered by the Snapdragon 765, the latest reports claim it's going to be using MediaTek's Dimensity 1000 system on chip, and this is going to be coupled with 8GB of RAM and a choice of 128 or 256 storage, which will of course be UFS 3. The phone dimensions reportedly come in at 159.2 by 74 by 8.6mm, making it smaller than the OnePlus 7, and it's reportedly going to be powered up by a 4000 mAh battery with support for 30W fast charging. The OnePlus 8 Lite is expected to come in two variants, and the 8GB of RAM with 128 storage is reportedly going to be $428, and the 8GB of RAM with 256 storage will be $472. Next up, we've got the standard OnePlus 8. When it comes to the standard OnePlus 8, we can see it looks very similar to the previous models, although this time they've decided to go with a punch hole selfie camera instead of the notch we're used to seeing. For the first time ever, we're getting a curved display on the standard model, and a news source claims that the OnePlus 8 is going to be a 6.4-inch 120Hz fluid AMOLED display. It's going to have a Quad HD Plus resolution of 1440 by 3140, and it will of course have an in-display fingerprint scanner. A new report claims the selfie camera on the standard OnePlus 8 is going to be the 32 megapixel Sony IMX616. As you can see, they've gone with the triple camera setup on the rear of the OnePlus 8, and they have stuck with the vertical alignment that we're used to seeing. We get a 48 megapixel Sony IMX689 as the primary sensor. It's got an aperture of f1.78, and it's actually the same camera used in Oppo's latest flagship. We've got a 48 megapixel Sony IMX586 ultra wide camera with an aperture of f2.2, and this has a 120 degree field of view. The third camera is an 8 megapixel telephoto with 3x optical zoom, and this has an aperture of f2.4. The OnePlus 8 again has the power button and the alert slider on the right, with the volume rocker on the left and the SIM tray at the bottom. The device is powered by the Snapdragon 865 and the X55 modem, meaning we get 5G support on the standard OnePlus 8. It should be coming with a choice of 8 or 12GB of RAM and 128 or 256 storage, which is UFS 3. It's going to be powered up by a 4000 mAh battery, and there's a bit of confusion between the fast charging, some reports claiming 30W and others claiming 50, and it will hopefully have wireless charging as well. The phone dimensions come in at 162.6 by 75.9 by 8.8mm, and we do get stereo speakers on the standard OnePlus 8. The price of the OnePlus 8 with 8GB of RAM and 128 storage is expected to be $528. For 8GB of RAM with 256 storage, we're expecting $571, and for 12GB of RAM with 256 storage, we're expecting $614. Now finally, we've got the most premium model in the range, the OnePlus 8 Pro. On the front, we've got the same all-screen curved display, and while earlier leaks believed the OnePlus 8 Pro was going to have a dual punch hole camera in the top left, we now believe that this could be a single punch hole camera. The display is expected to be a 6.65-inch 120Hz Fluid AMOLED display. It's going to have a Quad HD Plus resolution of 1440 by 3140, and it will of course have the in-display fingerprint scanner. A new report claims the selfie camera is going to be the 32-megapixel Sony IMX616. While people were expecting a 3D time-of-flight depth sensor, if it's only got a single punch hole, then this isn't going to be the case. The OnePlus 8 Pro is going to be the first from OnePlus to feature a quad camera setup on the rear. We get a 48-megapixel Sony IMX689 as the primary sensor. It's got an aperture of f1.78, and it's actually the same camera used in Oppo's latest flagship. We've got a 48-megapixel Sony IMX586 ultra-wide camera with an aperture of f2.2, and this has a 120-degree field of view. The third camera is an 8-megapixel telephoto with 3x optical zoom, and this has an aperture of f2.4, and the fourth camera is a 5-megapixel color filter. The device will again be powered by the Snapdragon 865 along with the X55 modem, meaning we do get 5G support, and it should be coming with a choice of 8 or 12 gigs of RAM, 128 or 256 storage again, which is UFS 3. We've got the power button and the alert slider on the right with the volume rocker on the left, and the battery capacity is reportedly going to be 4,500 mAh, and it will support 50-watt fast charging. Again, we get stereo speakers on the OnePlus 8 Pro, and it's going to measure in at 165.3 by 74 by 8.8mm, so the same thickness as its predecessor. It was thought that this would again mean we do not get wireless charging, but recent leaks have pointed towards wireless charging, and it does seem very likely that we'll be getting it. The OnePlus 8 Pro is going to come with the same RAM and storage configurations as the standard OnePlus 8, so we get the 8 gigs of RAM with 128 storage for $714. We get 8 gigs of RAM with 256 storage for $786, and finally there's a choice of 12 gigs of RAM with 256 storage for $858. But with leaks pouring in every week, it's great that we have so much news for all models. As I said earlier, my most complaints in the comment section are always about wireless charging and official IP ratings, so if OnePlus can include these in the OnePlus 8, then it would put a clear stop to it, and I guess the only complaints then are going to be the 3.5mm headphone jack, which isn't coming back. As always though, I'd like to know your thoughts in the comments. Who out there is waiting for the OnePlus 8 and which model are you waiting for? And if you're not waiting for the OnePlus 8, then what smartphone are you waiting for? But thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, smash a thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down twice, and I'll see you guys in the next one.